Peace, everybody. Peace. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is Naseed Gifted, and this is the Phocused Black Podcast. We have a very, very exciting episode, and I know we got a new setup. We got a new look. We got a whole new everything, and hey, we got a new co-host. So I want to introduce to the world JoJo Wright, who has her own segment. I want her to introduce herself. Go ahead, JoJo. Please let the audience know who you are.
Yeah, great. Hello, everyone. I'm JoJo Abanavi Wright. I am been a big fan of technology since I was younger. I started out in gaming, actually. When I was 10, I used to write my games. And then as I went through, I started open source coding, helping performance art galleries, streaming with theirs. And I went to NJIT right here in New Jersey, got my degree, bachelor's and master's degree in information systems.
Oh, wow.
And so now, I'm at Microsoft as an architect with all about generative AI.
Oh, that's powerful. That is super powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, and just so the audience will have a reference point, JoJo has been working with us and KHEM FEST and all the different projects over the number of years, so I knew she would be a natural fit for what we're doing. So JoJo, as you can see, Dilettante is not here, but JoJo will be in every segment, every week. We actually have our own JoJo segments we're going to talk about later because we got this whole new format that we're going to be talking about. So now this year, we're going to be this is episode 35, Future Visions, Black Science in Sci-Fi Cinema, where STEM meets the screen. Black storytellers redefine the future through science fiction narratives that blend technology, culture, and creativity. Step into a realm where science and imagination intertwine as we explore the impact of Black scientists in film and TV, delving into Afrofuturistic literature and the evolution of Black storytelling traditions in shaping narratives for the future. So, first of all, my name is Naseed Gifted. I am a empowering Afrofuturistic visionary. And with this, I wanted to kind of just talk about a couple of the little segments. We got a new format, and with the format, we're going to be doing a number of different things. With that, we're going to be talking about, our opening segment, which is going to be the Black Futures Now. The Black Futures Now, which we'll introduce in a minute, is going to go into that. Then we'll do our main segment, which is going to be our Voices of the Future, where we're going to get into an in-depth conversation, with a guest, or just pretty much going deep into the topic that we're talking about for the evening. And then we go right into our tech news segment, which is tech in the diaspora. So tech that's affecting people of the African diaspora. We're going to be going hard into that and how that affects the Black community. And then if we have products, we talk about product and tech reviews in our Future Forward segment. And then JoJo has a number of special segments. Today, we're going to do JoJo's Black Tech Rewind, where she's going to be talking about a number of things. And I'm excited about all of this stuff because it's just a new twist on what we're doing. As you can see, we're in a brand new studio. Shout out to Express Newark and the CMC studio for allowing us to be able to occupy their spaces. Also a part of a podcast class that we actually took. Shout out to the behind the scenes, Melissa and Dana, who helped out to create this set design. So I want to definitely give them their shout out. And then we'll have our closing segment, which will be the Future Visionaries. So the Future Visionaries getting into the individuals who are doing the work, putting the work in the community, just making this world a better place. So without further ado, we're going to get started. I mean, I'm excited. But in our Black Futures Now segment, I wanted to give a big shout out to Derek Bailey. If you haven't heard of Derek Bailey is the founder and CEO of Derek Automotive, which is a Black-owned electric vehicle manufacturer based in Atlanta, Georgia, in the ATL, known for developing electric vehicles and retrofitting existing ones. Derek Automotive, which is a company that designs and manufactures electric vehicles. He's the owner and founder, and also who was inspired by C.R. Patterson, the first Black-owned automobile manufacturer, and their mission is to provide a cheap, carbon-free, or more convenient electric car solution. The vehicles are the Exceeders, which is a logistics vehicle designed to increase driving team efficiency and reduce operating costs. The Process system, which is a system that aims to replenish energy as fast as its consumers. And we're going to make sure that we put the link in the bottom here so you could be able to see that. But Derek Automotive is your alternative choice, for those who are looking for electric vehicles. We're just giving them shameless plugs because we want to make sure that you, as the Black community, know about these different things that's going on within our community and being able to push the narrative forward. So that is our Black Futures section, but I want to go right into it. We're talking about the future visions, which is Black science and sci-fi, cinema. We talking about game changers, we talking about innovators, and we talking about the pioneers. And I wanted to start off with a segment, given the flowers, especially being that this is Women's History Month. I wanted to give the sisters a lot of love because Nichelle Nichols, and many of you may not be familiar with her, but Nichelle Nichols, for those who are fans of Star Trek, is Lieutenant Uhura, who was a pioneer. And when I say she was a pioneer, she not only was a pioneer for Black individuals in the future on a Starship Enterprise, but she was a pioneer for individuals who get into NASA and everything. I wanted to share a quick story about her and her experience. She was a theater major. She loved theater. She actually had she had her part as Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, and she was a main cast member. Up until this point, which a lot of people don't know, you didn't see Black women or Black men, in leadership roles within these particular spaces, and especially in a space odyssey like Star Trek. So that was, pioneering and innovative in itself. But one of the things that we don't know is that she actually looked to quit the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she actually told the executive producer, his name was Rob, I believe, and she told the executive producer that she was leaving the show. She really didn't like the conditions and everything. And then she ended up going to a benefit dinner. And when she went to this benefit dinner, she saw an individual who she admired and went up and spoke to him. And that individual happened to be Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King. And when she spoke to him, she was telling him about her plans of leaving the show and going back onto Broadway to do theater. Dr. Martin Luther King spoke to her and told her that that wasn't a great idea because, first of all, she was a pioneer, and that was the only show that he allowed his children to watch.
Wow.
Right? So one of the things about her was, she was looking to tap out, right? She was looking to tap out. But after she had this conversation with Dr. Martin Luther King, she actually ended up tapping in. She told the executive producer who gave her over the weekend to think about this whole, this whole thing. And she came back, energized and reinvigorated and went all the way in, and did her role and did a phenomenal job. But when I say she tapped in, she also was the pioneer for the NASA program. Yes. So she is one of the individuals that, not only from a visual, innovative standpoint where you see Black people on TV, we saw ourselves in space. So the Mae Jamisons and all of the other Black astronauts and astrophysicists and all of those other individuals were inspired by the act that she did. So This is how science fiction, a TV fantasy actually, translates into something real, because most of the time we don't know how we inspire the next generation of technology leaders or our creators and innovators in the space, and you don't know the impact that you have of something looking forward. You can only capture its greatness as we look back. And as a community, we live for the moments, pushing towards common goals, but don't know the impact that we will leave behind. So, I wanted to make sure I give flowers to Nichelle Nichols, Captain Uhura from Star Trek. And if you haven't seen that series, please make sure you check that out. Definitely make sure you check that out. But there is a whole bunch of things, within this Afrofuturism space, the world of sci-fi, fantasy, and culture, from some of the films. And I know we want to talk about films because films are visual media, right? And the visual media is what, we start creating models from. And because it's visual, we can see ourselves in it. One of the... I guess one of the taboos of the Black community up until 2008 was like you could do anything in the world but be president of the United States. But in 2008, when Barack Obama became, president of the United States, now this also became, like something that people can look to achieve and everything. So I only say that because, when we talk about Afrofuturism and controlling our narrative and everything, there is a number of films, there's a number of things that has inspired, this next generation of creators, from your Octavia Butlers to a number of other pieces of literature and everything, as well as in film. And how do we use that to be able to not only cultivate, but to inspire the next generation? So with that, I wanted to kind of tap in, and I know this is one of our favorites. So Kindred, which is actually a graphic novel. It's actually a book written by Octavia Butler in 1979. And I know it's one of her titles that you want to probably tap into. That's very relative to what's going on today. But when we talk about storytellers. We talk about people who are fortune tellers in a sense, or foreshadowing the future. Octavia Butler, who incorporated time travel and is modeled on slave narratives. This became widely popular and is frequently chosen as a text for community-wide reading programs, book organizations, high school colleges. Kindred is actually, I believe it is a film now, or it's a film in the making.
It's a series.
Oh, it's a
And
series.
definitely prefer the book over the series because they took some
things out.
Yes.
They took some things out. Well, like they always do. So I mean that's just like one of the titles, one of the more recent titles, and I want to speak about a Netflix special called "See You Yesterday." So "See You Yesterday" was about two Brooklyn teenage prodigies, C.J. Walker and Sebastian Thomas, who builds a makeshift, using materials that they find around the house, time machine to save CJ's brother, Calvin, from being wrongfully killed by the police. So they took something as far as time travel, but they also connected it to a narrative that we generally deal with in the Black community each and every day, where we're talking about police brutality, we're talking about wrongful killings and everything. And this is actually on Netflix. This came out in 2019, right before the pandemic and everything, which was a phenomenal film. I don't know if you got a chance to see that one, but if you haven't, make sure you get a chance to see that. And then you got, films like Sankofa, right? I know you've seen Sankofa. And Sankofa, I mean, which came out in 1993, was directed by Ethiopian-born Haile Germain. And I do apologize if I did mispronounce the name, which features a contemporary model. We talk about a model during a photo shoot who suddenly finds herself on a plantation in the southern U.S. during the plantation era. So she was exploiting her body and then gets teleported to a time where her body was being exploited, right? And then she actually, makes a connection. She's, I believe it takes place in, that's in Ghana. So I believe it's in on the coast of Ghana, where they actually did the film. And please, in the comments, I know you guys are, listening. Make sure you like, share. But If I need to be corrected, please make sure you put that in the comments as well. We'll definitely make the correction accordingly. But I wanted to kind of, just kind of tap into some of those things. And then you got the father of all superhero movies, which was Blade, which came out in 1998. That movie, not only talks about, Blade, of course, who's half vampire, half human, so we talk about the supernatural aspect of Afrofuturism with the tech and, and all of these other aspects. But it was also that superhero narrative in making the black man and the black male a actual hero within this particular space. And that kind of launched what Marvel is doing still to today, because up until that point, they didn't do well or created quality films, with regards to, their superhero genre. They had a couple of TV shows for Spider-Man and Incredible Hulk, back in the 70s and everything. But this was the 90s, and they were trying to, make their get their footing, to catch up with DC, because DC already did the Superman films, they did the Batman Returns, and now this was their film to kind of, speak into the universe. And then, from there you got the number of the Spider-Mans and the Incredible Hulks and all the other stuff, but this was the forefather that kind of kicked off that superhero genre of movies, and now they can't give us enough of these types of movies and everything. Being able to put black people in powerful positions, with something. And then when I think about that, and you connect with a film like Black Panther and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, those films, when we talk about a whole civilization that's uncolonized, what would that look like? That's Afrofuturism in its finest. There's a couple of whitewashing things I could pull out, but overall the film, from a visual standpoint, from an aesthetic standpoint, really spoke to our culture. Being able to deal with the language, from all of the aesthetics, from the music, like all of those different things is just something that was super, super powerful. To be able to do visual storytelling, and I definitely appreciate that. So
something about Black Panther that I really like.
Yes.
The additional part of it is the mythology that was put into it.
Oh, yes.
So if you're following the story and you have that, so that's why it's good to know your history and your culture, looking at it on what the characters played. When you look at Osiris, Horus, Seth, and you place that story into Black Panther, it opens up a whole nother view.
Oh, no, definitely. They had so many different elements within that, from the the liberation flag, from the red, black, and green aesthetic that was actually intentionally placed in there. I thought it was a lot of intentionality in there. We still had the little white savior syndrome within that space. We'll get into that. But overall, the film was great. But I love the energy that was surrounding it. This was the first time, and I had to check with the elders, right, to see if there was ever an event or a film that came out where so many people not only went to it, but approached it as if it was like going to the Grammys or something like that.
Yeah, they dressed up.
Yeah, they dressed up. They got into
School
their apparel
trips
and everything, like film. So that was something I never really seen before. I know some people who dress up to go to the movies and everything, but everyone, made sure that they had their attire and everything, their kente cloth. They were ready, they were ripe, and they were righteous. During that time, I did a number of talks, at different colleges and universities. And then there were so many different screenings, there were so many screenings, groups that were taking young people to be able to see this visual masterpiece. Because from a visual aesthetic, man, we talk about a black man who's a king of a technologically advanced civilization. That's something that narrative is something that you don't see every day, nor do they talk about, besides in, the individuals who are those Afrofuturistic writers or anything like that.
Right.
Did you want to add in on that or something?
That would be a whole hour.
That definitely will be a whole hour. So we're just going to jump into it. So we got our future forward, but we ain't going to get into that. We're going to go right into you with your segment, JoJo. So we got JoJo's Black Tech Rewind. Black Tech Rewind. And what is that? What is that, JoJo?
Yeah, so Black Tech Rewind, we're going to take it back to look at some technology that was created. And today we're going to talk ancient, like pre-Kemet, pre-Egypt time, and looking how it impacts what we're doing now.
Okay.
Right? So I want to start off with going back to about 60 miles west of the Nile.
Okay.
South Egypt. There's an area out there called Nabta Playa.
Nabta Playa. Look it up if you don't know where that's at.
Look it up. Yes. So Nabta Playa, when a lot of people hear about the different things that were found, there was one thing that they used for observation to be able to look and see where the stars are.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would help them tell when there's going to be a monsoon and flooding for the area.
Mm-hmm.
So what's interesting is something I found out recently is that area used to be a basin. So as the floods would come in, the water would come in and fill up the area. And so when you would look at the stones that are around, if you're from a distance, the bottom of the stones would be in the water. So if you're from a distance, you can look and see the reflection from the stars inside the water.
Oh,
and that would also help you tell, like, when the flooding season would come.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, so a lot of archaeologists went over to that area when they were building the dam, the Aswan Dam. And during the dam, they flooded a lot of areas. Unfortunately, it's something that's very common that we saw in the U.S., where a lot of people that look like us get flooded or they get moved. Same thing happened in Egypt. So as they were doing that, they had certain Egyptologists went west. And that's when they found out about Nabta Playa.
Oh, wow.
He traveled out there first in the 60s. They had a local guide that was showing him. 10 years later, he stumbled across the stones. And it was like, that looks like natural. But then when they got closer, they realized it was man-made stones. And so they started excavating underneath the stones. And what was additionally interesting there is the way the stones were set up, they had lines in between them. When they went underneath the lines, you know what they found?
What did they find?
They found tombs with cattle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Buried underneath. And it wasn't just a cattle throne. They were dressed up nice, like they were identifying the cattle. And so that leads us back to when you look at different neters or gods within Egypt, Hathor.
Well, yeah, because most people think that Kemet, most people think that Kemet are polytheistic, worship many gods, for most people. But these deities were representations.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, if you ever get an opportunity to go to see the walls of Kemet or the walls of Egypt, you see that these stories are being told and these representations are there because that's how they were able to, tell their stories and show that, certain characteristics, that are associated with particular animals and everything. They weren't worshiping the animals. They were actually, pulling out their characteristics as they studied them, because, that was a part of that. But I know you were talking about a particular timeline that all of this kind of stuff exists.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I can share. Like I said, this was pre, like the Egypt. So
Yes.
the other things that they found there, they found, you remember before the Egypt combined, you had the crown with the two.
Yep.
They were finding the crowns.
Okay.
Separated.
So upper and lower.
Upper and lower Egypt, which is down south. Reversed.
Yep.
Right? So if we take a look here, it's gonna lovely. We could put the link to where to get this. All right, so we're gonna look out at how long our history is here And so what I was talking about is Nafta Playa. It's way back here. It's about 7,000 years ago when Nafta Playa is. If you go over there, that's about the time they want to say that our history starts.
Yep.
So when you're in school, they're like, oh, yeah, it starts at slavery. We have all this time before slavery, all these things we've done before we came over here. So it's important, really, to know the history. We have vast amounts of history, vast amount of knowledge. Yeah, so as we're looking at this, of course, you see across different communities, a lot of communities follow the Sirius star. You saw it in the Dogon tribe.
Oh, yes,
as well. You also see it indigenous in Americas, too.
So we talking about the series B, right? Yeah. So a lot of people don't know the science or mathematics that's tied into that, which also connects to the melanin that's in our skin that gives us our superpower, you know. But that's a whole nother segment that we won't even get into at this moment, you know. But yeah, wow. So that was deep. I mean, you know, when we talk about so that's JoJo's Black Tech Rewind, you know, being able to tap into that, boy, understanding that, you know, not only the creators and innovators with astronomy, language, agriculture, engineering, you know, electricity, because a lot of people don't know that Kemet had electricity back then.
Can I say one more thing?
Of course you can.
So one more thing that we kind of debunked. They were trying to say, as they do a lot of times when we have things in Egypt or Nubian, that someone else brought us there.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things...
I thought the aliens came, right?
The aliens. And so by them finding the cattle herding, and when they did the DNA on theirs, they showed that it was completely separate from the other cattle that they tried to say was brought into Africa, and that we were taught how to do cattle herding.
Oh, of course.
So that's just another area, another form of technology when you get into agriculture. Probably our oldest technology, right? Agriculture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that. Fire. going back to the early times, but yeah, that's super powerful. So that was JoJo's Black Tech Rewind, and JoJo actually is going to be doing a lot of these different segments, a new one each and every week. So I'm excited to hear. And generally, you know, like we don't script the notes behind the scenes with JoJo sections. So I'm as surprised with these particular segments as, you know, as she's revealing this information and everything. But I know before we go, because I want to kind of wrap all of this up, I know this one book up here that I wanted you to talk about, because we were talking about this particular title.
Parable of the Sorrow.
And how that connects to what's going on now, because and I have to check the date on that, but I know this came out in maybe the early 80s or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, this came out, it's very predicting on the different things, even down to the Make America Great Again hat. It shows up in here.
So if you haven't read this particular title, make sure you grab that. And then, I mean, you know, you can see a whole bunch of different titles here on our table. These are some of the, you know, materials that we are all reading, you know, but also just being able to tap into these particular titles, because a lot of this stuff connects to our everyday. And because it connects to our everyday, we want to be able to not only speak to our community, but be able to give them information so they could be able to push forward. We need to always be able to control our narrative and be able to shape what our future looks like. I mean, with that, you know, this is definitely exciting. I like, you know, what we're doing. Tune in each and every Thursday to the Future is Black podcast, you know, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is going to be, you know, super, super phenomenal. I'm excited. You know, I'm ready to not only look at this season, because we're going to be doing a 10-episode season.
10 episodes.
10 episodes. And then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to do another 10 episodes. We actually going to be doing a segment down in Miami. Yeah, so we're going to be a part of BiteCon. So shout out to BiteCon. That's going to be happening in April in Miami, Florida. Also, I will be going to Afro Animation. So that's also happening actually the weekend right before BiteCon. So I'll be there for that. And that's hopefully where we'll be launching Blacklisted, the P.B.Soldier adapted, P.B.Soldier's adapted animated short that's going to be coming out late spring, early summer. So we're definitely excited about that. So any announcements? Anybody want to give a shout out to JoJo before we wrap up today?
No, definitely come down to Miami with us. You know, I'm on the board for BiteCon as the creative technology.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Innovation, the global director there. So please come down.
Yes, if you're in the South Florida area, or you're looking for a great time and ready to learn about the innovations and everything that's going on, hey, make sure you come down to BiteCon. But also tune in, because each and every week we're going to give you some more information, some more knowledge on, the different innovations that are not only affecting our community, but we're going to be doing some product talks. I mean, some product reviews and product and tech reviews, in our Future Forward segment, just testing apps, gadgets, all of these different things, software. We're in this AI space, and there's a ton of tools. Most people were using OpenAI, ChatGPT and all of this stuff, but I've used DeepSeek.
DeepSeek.
Oh man, that's
Gemini, all of them.
Gemini. I mean, even Canva. Actually, every platform that you're using has now an AI component, and I know you're very familiar with Copilot. So
yes.
Copilot, which is the Microsoft product.
Little bias there.
So But shout out to everyone who's tapping in and tuning in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. This is the Phocused Black Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. We're going to be here each and every week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is episode 35. And looking forward to hearing from you, getting your feedback so we can make sure we improve each and every time. This is Future Visions, Black Science in the Sci-Fi Cinema. And my name is Naseed Gifted, and this is
JoJo Abanavi
Wright. And this is the Phocused Black Podcast. We're going to be signing off. Peace.
Peace.